Good morning to my cat people out there. Welcome to Cat Chat on this lovely Thursday morning. It's been great getting some fantastic feedback from some of the videos that I've been doing. A lot of positive stuff. Please let me know if there's anything you think I can improve as well. But it's great to see that people are getting some value out of these morning chats on a Thursday. So thank you very much for joining me and watching some of the rewinds, not rewinds, what are they called? You know what I mean. You know, when you replay, there you go, the replays. Thanks for watching the replays. Now today I thought I would do something a little bit different, and instead of talking about cats and what we can do for cats, today I'm going to talk a little bit about what we can learn from cats and how their behaviours are things that we can actually look at and then perhaps do a bit of self-reflection on as well. Now, the Abbies are running around like crazy today, so if you see something shooting behind me or you hear something climbing straight up a cat tree, don't panic too much. It's just the Abbies being their typical silly selves, as they usually are. Now, for those of you that do follow me, if you think that somebody can benefit by watching some of the things that I'm putting out there, it'd be great if you can share some of my content. That would be really, really appreciated. Okay, so let's get into this. Now, I recently, well, not necessarily that recently, but I wrote a blog post which is up on my website, which you can go to at catmama.com. And it actually is called What We Can Learn by Being More Like a Cat. I can hear somebody growling in there. Derek Bennett. Hang on just a second. Derek Bennett's hassling one of our other cats. Roy? Hang on a second. Well, that's something we can learn, that we don't want to be more like a cat. Derek Bennett likes to pick on one of our older cats called Stella, and this morning she's found a nice little spot up in our kitchen, and he decided he'd go and hassle her. So I've just gone and sorted those out. I'm sure anybody with a cat, big cat family, understands that every now and then you've got to sort the kids out. Now, where were we? Right, so I've written a blog post, and it's called What We Have Learned by Being More Like a Cat. And the whole idea of this was to just demonstrate some of the really positive traits that cats have that perhaps we can have a look at and do a bit of self-reflection and perhaps apply to our own situations and lives as well. So one of the things that I really like about cats is that they're incredibly honest about their feelings, and trust is very important to them. So when you have a cat in your house, you don't own a cat. Cats tend to own you, but you don't own a cat. You actually have to build a relationship with a cat. And cats, in order to have that happen, they're very honest about their feelings, but they're also very careful with their feelings and who they trust. So in order to build a relationship with a cat, you require a lot of trust between you and that animal. And being able to have that trust and having that honest feedback from that cat can really help you to work on other relationships. Now, I know as a teenager, you used to fall in love at, the drop of a hat, and you would become very, very trusting. And I think sometimes with cats don't necessarily trust you straight away. Some cats, if they've been in a really great situation and they're very outgoing, can be very trusting because they've never come across any reasons for them not to trust humans. But you take some of the rescue cats out there that are very untrusting because they've had horrible experiences with humans. It takes a lot longer time to actually build that trust up. So I kind of see those confident, in-your-face type cats as being young teenagers, really, where you've got no fear, you know everything. Nobody's going to come and do anything to you because you're just, you know what you're doing. So what we want to do is to not necessarily stamp that out of those people, but as you get older, and I'm sure all of you can agree, as you get older, you get burnt occasionally. Cats do have long memories about what can happen, but sometimes we need to kind of just hone our thoughts a little bit. And if we are looking for trust and we're looking for honesty, sometimes you need to be honest about how you're feeling and have conversations about things, because that way we can really start to build up that trust again. And also using that honesty of cats can actually come across quite well with the honesty in human relationships. Now, cats also have another great quality, which is that they don't really care what you think of them. Cats don't have egos as such. They take me or leave me sort of thing, really. It's not going to bother them if you don't like them, or it's not going to bother them if they're doing something that you don't like. It's just a really good way of living. We worry too much about the opinions of others. We very much take the opinions of others to heart. I know when I first started doing some of these videos, there was all this fear about, oh, you know, am I young enough? I have to lose some weight. I have to know more. I have to be different to what I am in order for this to succeed. But I got to a point where I thought, you know what, I think I can do some really good out there. And if I don't do it, then, you know, who is going to do it? It's not going to harm anybody by putting some content out there. If people think I'm looking like an idiot because I'm doing it, well, you know, that's their problem, not really mine. And you've got to actually somehow separate yourself from caring so much about what others think, and perhaps a bit of self-reflection on why do you care so much about the judgment of others? Because sometimes, you know, there's been times where I know people have said to me, oh, I'm so worried about what people will think. And it's like, but who are you actually worried about, and why do you care what they think? You know, is it a parent that you are trying to impress? Is it a competitor that you're trying to impress? You know, what is the reason for being so concerned about the opinions of others? So I really do think that that's one massive thing that we can learn from cats, is they don't care, so why should we? Now, of course, you still need to be kind to each other. That doesn't mean that you can create the cat fight situation, which can often happen by not caring about others. What I'm talking about is still caring for others, but not caring about what they believe or think of you, the judgment that they're actually laying down on you. So that for me is a really, really important one. Now, cats are excellent at meditation. And I think with everything that's going on at the moment, we've had a lot of people who have been really scared and worried about the way the world is changing with the COVID situation. And we know with cats, if a cat is scared, it will lash out because it's a fear, a way of demonstrating that they're fearful. Now, humans are the same. So in this really difficult time, if somebody lashes out at you, then don't necessarily take it personally, because it's probably nothing to do with you. It's more likely something that that person's going through. And sometimes, again, we don't want to judge them. We don't want them to judge us. But sometimes taking a moment and learning how to meditate like a cat is a good idea. So if you're in a situation where you're a little bit overwhelmed and you just need to bring it all down, meditation can be fantastic. Now, we know that cats spend a lot of time just chilling and looking and relaxing, so they really are the masters of meditation, some of them better than others. And the best way of meditating is simply breathing in and breathing out and removing your mind of any comments and all that chitter-chatter that goes on in your head, and just breathing. And if you want to have something going in your head, just acknowledge the breathing that you're doing. It's a very simple technique. Meditation has been proven by many scientific areas to actually help in numerous situations. Now, I know a lot of you out there probably don't know me very well, and I probably come across, and I've been told I come across as a very calm, chilled sort of person. That's taken a lot of time to get to that point. I still suffer from anxiety and still have panic attacks. But part of my healing, I suppose, or part of my journey of learning how to get that under control was by using meditation and just taking that step back at the moment or at any time when I'm feeling overwhelmed to just bring the energy levels down. Just chill right down. Don't react. Meditate for 5-10 minutes just to bring the energy levels down, and then you can see things a little bit less emotionally, and that can really, really help. So I think cats are really, really good meditators, and I'm sure today when you're looking at your cat, you'll be wondering, is he sleeping or meditating? But that's a really, really important one. Now, cats are resilient, and at the moment, I think it's one of those times in history where human beings are having to be the most resilient they've ever been in their life. I know this enforced pause, I'm going to call it, with the COVID, has caused a lot of stress and a lot of issues for a number of people. I'm one of these people that, and part of this is, you know, the work that I've done myself in order to get out of that anxiety stuff, is that you kind of have to get to a point where you can be relaxed enough to be able to deal with things like this. And I do it by positivity. Now, I know that pisses people off to no end, because there are some people out there that don't want to hear positivity when they're in the lowest possible point that they can be. It's not something they just want to pat on the back and say it's going to be okay. But if you can always try to work out what the message is, or if you can try and work out where the positive things are in any situation, it does help you put things a little bit more into perspective. And I'm not just talking about counting your blessings and being grateful. I'm talking about looking for the life lessons, looking for the positive sides of things. So, for instance, with COVID, being a photographer, most of my business that I do outside of the cat stuff is completely gone. I haven't been able to go and do headshots for businesses or family portraits or anything like that. So my portrait business is basically in limbo at this point in time. And even with the cat shoots, I've had to cancel a few shoots with cats and that type of thing as well. So my business, the actual business side of things, has come to a halt. But what it's done is it's given me some time for me and my partner to actually get our finances in order, make sure that we can survive this situation. We don't know when or how it's going to end, but we've been able to move things around a little bit. Our budget is now tight. I know exactly where every cent's going, whereas before it was a bill came in and you just paid it if you could. So having that little pause has actually given me time to really reflect on what we've been doing and making it into a better way. One thing that I used to do a lot when we had a lot of kids in the house was, because we were on a tight budget back then as well, we used to have a monthly menu of what we were going to eat every night of the week. Because I don't know if you understand, with cats in particular, not cats, kids in particular, with boys, they're always asking what's for dinner. So I now have a menu, which is a 1 month menu, which every month it comes back at exactly the same again. It means that I can budget for exactly what we're doing. The kids can actually look and see what's for dinner, and they don't have to ask me all the time, which is fantastic. But it also means too that I'm not looking at quite so much takeaway and things like that, like what we were doing, because obviously we've been able to spend that time to actually work out where things are. Now, it's not set in stone, so sometimes it will change a little bit under different circumstances, but it gives me a really good way of saying what we're doing every night. I don't know about you, but I waste so much time trying to work out what I'm going to cook for dinner. So this is a really good way of just getting a little bit more organised as well. So this demonstrates some of the resilience that we can have in times like this. And it's really a cat thing to be resilient. If a cat gets put outside tomorrow, they find a way to survive. We've seen cats come into being domesticated just because it suits them, because humans and cats can work quite nicely together. They are very resilient. Obviously, we don't want them to have to be so resilient. We want to make sure that they have the best life possible, but it is something that we can really learn from cats, is that they have this inbuilt ability to land on their feet. They find a way to actually make it to the next day. And that's kind of what we need to be doing at the moment. So taking that resilience, thinking about how, if I was a cat, how would I get through today? Because you have to get through today to get to tomorrow. Now, the other thing about cats is they're actually quite strategic decision makers. And like I was saying, with this pause in time, I've actually been able to do a bit more strategic decision making in regard to my business and in regard to how I run the household and all those sorts of things. Have you ever seen a cat sit there and look and decide whether or not they're going to actually chase something? Sometimes they'll even get the big bum wiggle happening and then decide it's not worth their time. So the strategic decision making that we see in cats, we can do the same sort of thing. Definitely a good idea to have a look at all options, but sometimes you've just got to learn to say no. And if something piques your curiosity, then go and check it out, because you don't know, that might be a good decision for you to make. So strategic decision making for cats is all about play and fun and whether they're going to eat something and all that sort of stuff. We can do exactly the same thing. There's absolutely no reason why we can't. Now, of course, the one thing that we love about our cats is that they go nuts. And I apologised at the beginning of the video here that I had to go and break up a little bit of an issue between two. Cats just go a bit nuts every now and then. And mind you, 10 o'clock on a Thursday morning for my cats is probably not the best time to be having a cat chat, because the Abyssinians are only just starting to get to the point where they're starting to settle down and have their morning nap. So we have seen what cats get like. They get the zoomies, they run around and go crazy, they chase each other, they chase red lights, they let their hair down and have a bloody good time. Cats know how to enjoy themselves. And I think that personally, that's something that I need to work on more, because I tend to be a little bit too much on the serious side, and I don't let my hair down and enjoy life as much as I should. So I'm working on that part of my cat personality at the moment. But to say that, I was in a situation many years ago that made me not want to enjoy life. So it's something that sometimes with self-reflection you can go back and work out when it started and why you feel in a particular way, and then it helps you to work through that a bit more. But I definitely need to play more like a cat. And of course, with all this cat playing, the other thing that cats teach us, well, actually it's more like a gift from them, is the way they make us laugh. I mean, how many times a day do you laugh at your cats? Seriously, like, they have got to be the funniest people ever. They are so silly, and they just do the most remarkable things that, they keep you laughing all the time. And laughter is a really healthy thing to have. There's a lot of guilt around laughter, though. If you're going through a bad time, or a friend's going through a bad time, sometimes you feel like you can't laugh because it's disrespectful or upsetting or whatever. But those are the times that you really need to try and find some laughter and some joy, because you can't live in a situation of being down and sad all the time. So it's great to be able to help other people, and it's great to try and do what you can. But you can't feel guilty for living your own life, and you can't feel guilty for having a good belly laugh every now and then. And I think cats can really teach us that. If you're in a situation where you're really sad or feeling guilty about a situation somebody else is in and that you can't do anything about it, go online, look up some funny cat videos, and I swear it will help pick you up and make you smile. It is the best way to get some good endorphins back into your brain, and to help you then deal much better with any situations that you might actually be dealing with. Now, the last thing that I wanted to go through is the fact that cats are curious. And this is one of my favourite things about cats, is that they're always trying to work out what's going on, and they'll sit back and watch things. And I've got one of our cats, when I'm cooking, will sit there and he does the tilt. head from one side to the other, just trying to work out what's going on. Now, for a long time, I felt like this is kind of my cat superpower, because I'm incredibly curious about a number of things. And I suppose one of the things I'm most curious about is relationships and humans and how they work together, and why people react in a particular way. And what can I do to try and help that person if they're reacting in a bad way? So I'm very curious about how the mind thinks and how people think and feel, and how I can actually help in that situation. Now, of course, not everybody's going to want my help, and I understand that, and I don't take it as offensively if somebody tells me to bugger off. It really doesn't bother me. They might be in a bad situation that I have no idea about, and I'm not close enough to them for them to share it with me. So curiosity for me is finding something that interests you, that you are curious about, and following your curiosity. Cats don't get curious about one thing and then stick with it. They'll go and get curious about something else and something else and something else. Now, we also know curiosity killed the cat, and they do have 9 lives for a reason, because they do get into all sorts of trouble when they get a little bit curious. But I think it's something that we need to have more of. We need to be more open-minded. We need to be more interested in what's going on, rather than believing that we know what's going on, rather than believing that our opinion is the only opinion, and being really set in our ways so that we can't make any changes and don't want to make any changes. So, so that's pretty much it for me today. Let me have a look and see if I've got any comments or anything on there. I think we're all good. I can't see any comments on there. I really appreciate that everybody's supporting me. Like I said at the beginning of the cat chat, it's been great to get some support. The best way you can support me is to share my video content, or share any of my content that I'm sharing on Facebook and all the other platforms that I'm on. And let's hope life gets back to a little bit more simpler times soon. One thing I did want to just add at the end of this is that I do believe that this is giving the natural world a breather. One of the favourite things, and one of the positive things that I've really seen from this COVID outbreak, is the fact that our planet has actually been able to breathe again, even if it is for just a short period of time. We've been able to see the canals in Venice change colour. There's mountain ranges in India that city people have never seen in their lifetimes. The air quality is better. And I've got to say, we've got to be, I'm living in the safest place in the world right now. And considering South Australia is known for serial killers and good wine, I think being the safest place in the world for being in the middle of a pandemic is a fantastic thing. And I think we should, as Australians, be incredibly proud of the fact that we have kicked this virus's ass. And yes, it's going to hurt for a while for some people financially, but it really has made me proud to be an Australian. And it really makes me feel for anybody who's living in America right now. And what they're actually going through is just horrendous. But the planet is having a breather. I saw a picture the other day of flamingos in a city in Spain, and wildlife is returning into some of the cities and things of that nature. So there's always a bright side. I feel for anybody who's actually lost family members through this. And if you've lost a job like I have, then I feel for you there as well, because you're going to have to work your shit out to make sure that you can survive. But unless you've really lost somebody that you love in this pandemic, there's a lot of positives to it as well. And just the planet being able to breathe again, I think, is probably one of the best. And on that note, I wish you all a good weekend, which is coming up soon. And I'll see you next Thursday for Cat Chat. See you for now.